Welcome to TriTech University. My name is Bill Steppen, and today we are going to take a look at the human element of the AIM point of sale software, and that is discussing ways to go in and make adjustments or correct mistakes or things of that nature. With any software program, the output is only as good as the input, and of course, you, I, everyone, we're all human when it comes to that regard. And so AIM has a variety of utilities that allow us to go in and make adjustments where needed. As always with these live stream sessions, over to the right, whichever way that is for you on screen, you can click on the chat tab, and by clicking on that chat tab, that will allow you to then go ahead and log in with your nickname. You can just click the nickname button down at the bottom and type in your name. And then go ahead and say hi when you do so that I know that you're here. If you want, you can also use the Facebook or Twitter buttons to log in with your respective profiles from there, but it's not necessary. But that way, if you have any questions throughout this process, you'll be able to ask those, and I will be monitoring the chat window over here to my right, so that way we can see what we can do for you. Let's go ahead and jump over to my point of sale screen here, because we've got a lot to talk about. So we'll just bring this up, and I will do my best to try and keep everything centered here. I will probably need to move things around, but what I've kind of done is I've decided to break this down into 4 key areas, dealing with adjustments in customers and transactions, adjustments with inventory, adjustments with ledger, and then kind of everything else. So we will go through those, and we'll just be really scratching the surface when it comes to it. There's a lot of fine-tune utilities and programs. I'll do my best to mention them, but as always, I guess my bottom line up front, if you have any questions regarding how to come in and make adjustments on things that maybe I don't cover today, or if you just want to make sure of the ultimate function for doing so, our support team is always just a phone call away, and my recommendation would be to give them a call if you have any questions about it. So I'm just going to be taking a look down at my list here. So when it comes to customers and point of sale transactions, again, you have a lot at your disposal, but for those of you who have been coming from prior versions of AIM and AIM-SI, versions 11 and 10 and 9 and older, you might be familiar already with a program called Change Invoice. It's found in our modules and customers menu, and it's right here. Now, for those of you, again, who might be coming from older versions, there used to be both a Change Invoice and a Change Invoice employee program. We've consolidated those into one program here. When you open up Change Invoice, it's going to ask for the invoice number. So if you have that from your transaction history, you can type that in. If you've got a barcode scanner and the barcoded receipt in front of you, feel free to scan that. Otherwise, just go ahead and hit OK, and you can then pull up your customer by customer name, address, phone number, everything we've discussed in the past. Now, we've made a lot of enhancements to this program. If this is the first time you're seeing it, great. But this can do more than just straight up point of sale transactions like sales invoices and things like that. You can come in here to make adjustments on merchandise returns, on service tickets, on layaways, on a lot of different things. So when you first come in, all of the customers' transactions will be over on the left. And as you click on any given transaction, you will see its details over to the right. Now, when it comes to making adjustments to these types of transactions, this isn't to say that you would be able to come in and say, for example, change what was sold on a transaction, or how they paid or anything like that. We're going to be getting into what we call our reverse menu later on for situations like that. But if you just need to change who the employee of record was, you can kind of see up at the top here how it shows the current employee ID on this particular transaction. And if I needed to, I could come over here and I could make a change. I could also change the date and the general ledger date if necessary. If the customer had wanted this to be attached to a specific purchase order of their own making and that didn't happen, or there was a PO on it and you need to change it to a different one, you can see that it'll ask for a purchase order number here. Whether this should be excluded from printing on statements, you can check mark that. If you need to change the terms of a sale or billing or shipping address information, you can do so over here. You can simply right click on these two drop downs to make adjustments to those. So you got a lot of functionality here. You can, if necessary, make adjustments to the invoice notes or the line item notes. If you need to do anything with tracking information, which is something that we have available with our Shippo integration, you can update that. And if you need to print a new copy of it, you can click this print button. Now, what we're looking at right now is a credit memo on the customer's account. If you can see, if I click on each one, it'll kind of tell me up the top here what type of transaction this was. You might notice as we kind of go down through the list, sometimes things will change depending on what type of transaction it was. So in this case, you can see we have a service ticket. And with the service ticket, we now have additional functions here where we could go in and change the entry date, the estimated date, the category and subcategory, and serial number and description of what was on that transaction, as well as with the services button. If we need to, we can come in and we can make adjustments, not necessarily to the services themselves, but to if it was flagged as completed or not, or who the technician was, or the amount of time involved in tracking that. So you can come in and make adjustments to all of these different functions. If you needed to adjust the paid in full date of a layaway, that is another function that you will find here in this change invoice program, although I don't have any layaways here to come in and modify for this particular customer. But that is a function of this change invoice program. Now, let's say that it actually was a situation where you saved the sale to the wrong customer account. Maybe it got saved to the cash sale account and you want to move it to an actual customer account. There are a variety of transfer functions that are at your disposal. You'll see there's a transfer invoice program here. This allows you to effectively go in and select who the quote-unquote from account is. Let's go ahead and pull up that cash account. And then from there you can click the invoice button. You can find the invoice du jour. And then you can transfer it to a specific account. And basically what that would then do is it would move that transaction and all its corresponding history to the appropriate customer account. This can be especially helpful if, like I was kind of saying, it was sold to a cash account and it really should be on a specific customer's account, either for the purposes of better tracking or customer service down the road or anything along those lines. So definitely use this to your advantage. And this specific program is kind of inherent to cash sales, like sales invoices or things like that. If it is an alternative type of transaction that you need to transfer, such as a proposal or anything like that, there are specific utilities for that. You can see there's a transfer approval or proposal or suspended sale option here. These are kind of specific to those types of transactions. If we come down to the utilities menu, there is the option to transfer a credit, in other words, like a credit memo that's on the customer's account, or a credit card. If the heaven forbid someone actually saved a credit card to the wrong customer's account, you can transfer that credit card from one account to another. And let's also give a hypothetical. Let's say that there was a situation where the salesperson didn't realize that that customer account already existed. We do have a number of fail-safes in there that when you're keying in a new customer, if it finds any potential type of duplicate customer, it will pop that up. But let's say that the salesperson ignored that and just went ahead with creating the account anyway, and you want to then merge those multiple accounts. You can definitely do so. You can either do them individually here via the Merge Customer History program. It'll be very similar to the change, or rather transfer invoice program, where it will ask who the from account is, who the to account will be, and then there's a little checkbox here, might be a little bit small, but that says delete the from account. So in other words, you want to make sure that the to account has the relevant, most complete and updated customer information, such as their right address, their right phone number, stuff like that. It will use those kind of overarching details as the primary details, such as, like I said, the phone number, the name, the address, things like that. But most importantly, any activity from the pre-existing from account will be moved over to the to account. So sales, returns, credits, contracts, anything attached to that original quote-unquote from account will get moved to the to account. And if you needed to do that en masse, let's say, for example, you were in a situation where you're starting fresh with AIM and you've imported via a conversion a number of customer accounts, and you were wanting to clean them up now that you've got them in AIM. Back in that customer utilities menu, there is specifically a Merge Customer program that will help you go through and find all those potential duplicates by name, address, phone number, email, or things like that. And then by using this refresh grid function, it will find those potential duplicates. I don't think I really have any in here, just the cash and stock accounts, which really aren't relevant. But in essence, whichever one is the quote-unquote master account will be the account that's retained, and then the selected accounts will be the ones that get merged into the selected master accounts. So these are, like I said, the cash and stock accounts that are automatically generated for my individual location. So I wouldn't want to merge those. I can just go ahead and essentially uncheck those, and then those would not be selected when I'm doing the ultimate save function down here. But if you needed to review this ahead of time, there is a report for duplicate customers underneath the customer reports menu. It's simply called duplicate customers, and it will help you find those potential matches so that you can review that ahead of time before you get into that actual Merge Customers program. So those are the things I kind of wanted to mention when it comes to the customers. We got a lot still to cover, so if there were any questions on that, definitely let me know in the chat box. But before we move on to inventory, I'm just going to take a quick hydration break. Okay, now when it comes to inventory, obviously there's a lot of detail that AIM can track when it comes to inventory, and by extension there is a lot that can be entered in error or could just go outright wrong when it comes to inventory. So we're going to take a look at a few key utilities that I think will be very helpful for everyone here. The first and probably the most obvious is simply a program called Change Inventory. It's found in the Add Change Inventory modules menu. And when you come into this program, it will ask you for what the record is, and you can either scan it in up here at the top right with your barcode scanner, or you can type in the SKU or item number, or if you need to, you can always press F6 and search for it that way. Either way, when you bring it up, anything that you see here on most any of these tabs can be adjusted. Now, it's important to realize that when you make these types of adjustments, they are essentially immediate as soon as you hit the save button. So there are a few things that AIM will make a paper trail for or an audit trail for, such as a price adjustment on the cost factor or things of that nature, or if you go in and make a quantity adjustment. But that's not really the recommended method to come in and say changing quantities. We would encourage you to make use of the receiving and selling programs so that way you can come in and actually have a proper history of all of that activity. But let's say you realize, oops, I put this item in the wrong category. You can come in and change the category or subcategory. You can make an adjustment on the manufacturer. If there was a typo in the description or any details you wanted to adjust in any of the note functions, you can do so. Notice how the model field is grayed out, so you won't be able to come in and change the model number. If you need to make any adjustments here on the SKU tab, you certainly can do so. Anything regarding your location details, such as, like I was mentioning before, the quantity or the average cost or the min-max numbers, or any of these fields can be adjusted. If this were a serialized item on the serial tab, we could go in and make those adjustments. Again, for pricing and cost on an individual serial basis, you will notice, and I won't be able to point this out on this product, but the serial field will be grayed out. You will not be able to change the serial number. When it comes to either that model or that serial or SKU, there are places we can go to make adjustments on that, and we'll be taking a look at that momentarily. Suffice to say that this is a very powerful program. Now, if you want to allow some of these changes to be made available to some of your staff, but you don't necessarily want to give them full-fledged access to this change inventory program, you have some alternatives. If we go to the inventory utilities menu, there are two programs that I want to point out. One is called Change SKU Details and one is called Change Serial Details. Either of these programs, when you use them, will allow you to do the same type of concept. You can put in the SKU or a barcode or item number, and when you hit enter, you will see that it's going to bring up some details. We can make adjustments to the pricing, such as retail or our price or any of the alternative price ABC fields. If we need to, we can make adjustments to the min and max. Notice how most of these fields actually have little check boxes next to them. So this is a nice, easy way of making sure that you are only changing the fields that you want to change, because things like the min and max, you notice like they're grayed out. But I can still make adjustments to them. I just have to check mark the relative little checkbox next to that. And then by check marking that, those fields become available for me to go in and make adjustments to. So this is something that is a little bit safer to use than just the straight up change inventory program. If you were in the change inventory program and you accidentally backspaced out on a description or anything like that, you didn't realize the cursor was in there, about the only way to get that back would be to quickly hit the cancel button and essentially revert back to when you first got into the program. Shy of just outright coming in and recreating it from scratch. So I wanted to point these programs out. Now, if you happen to errantly input the model or SKU or serial, you can still go in and make adjustments to those. There is a utility, it's found actually in the Add Change Inventory menu, and it's called Change SKU, Model, or Serial. And when you use this program, it will ask you, what is the old model or SKU or serial? Let's just get to my old standby of RT14. And then it will ask you, what is the new model or SKU or serial? Now, if you put in a model number, like I did here, but in this case, RT14 is both the model and the SKU. And you can see it will ask me, do I want to change the model and or the SKU, or just one or the other, as well as any vendor item numbers if that matches the SKU. So if I wanted to change everything, I would make sure I check mark the model number as well as SKU and vendor item number. If I only wanted to change one of those three elements, I could just leave model number checkmarked. If I only want to change the SKU and leave everything else as is, I can do that. So that is very specific to anything that you type in that fashion. So just kind of keep that in mind. This is something that you can come in and, again, make these types of adjustments after the fact. With AIM, when it comes to those inventory records, there is a function where you could go in to change inventory. And let's pull that back up. And let's say that you accidentally, or maybe not accidentally, delete that SKU, and you realize, oh, nuts, I didn't actually want to delete that, or I realized after the fact that I deleted it and I really didn't want to. We do have a utility within version 12 of AIM that allows you to go in and undelete that inventory. So by using undelete inventory, you would put in the SKU to undelete, and then by hitting OK, that will essentially bring it back from the dead. It will make it so that it never really got deleted. That way, you won't lose the history associated with that SKU. Now, if you did delete the SKU and you didn't realize it, and then you do go back to try and recreate it from scratch using the add inventory program. If you type in an item number that AIM sees has been previously deleted, it will pop up a message and let you know, hey, this was a previous item that has been deleted out of your inventory. If you want to bring it back with all of that history, you should use the undelete utility to essentially bring it back into inventory. If you continue to recreate it using add inventory, it will put it back into inventory, but all of that past history will not be attached to the new SKU. You have effectively created, in essence, a new SKU record, even though it has that same SKU or model number as it had in the past. So just kind of keep that in mind. It gives you that option. If it is actually a brand new item that has no relation to the previous item, then by all means go ahead and create it using add inventory. But if it is something that got accidentally deleted and you come back to try and recreate it here with add inventory, it will let you know that this undelete utility does exist. Speaking of inventory and items that got received, and maybe you put the serial number underneath the wrong SKU, this transfer serial program will let you transfer that serial number from one SKU to another. For those of you in the firearm industry, anything we're talking about regarding serial info will update the bound book with the relevant audit trail information, just so that you are aware. And that's kind of all I really wanted to get into with inventory. You can see there are a plethora of other functions here in the inventory utilities menu. So you can see there's things like move serial to new SKU. Actually, that was the thing I was just talking about. It should be that program. This transfer serial is more specific to a completely different function, more of like a build firearm type function for our firearm customers. So go back about 2 minutes and strike out what I said about transfer serial and just replace that with move serial to new SKU, and you'll get what I'm actually wanting to recommend for you there. So you can see there's other things like transferring vendor inventory or other functions like that. If you do have any questions regarding these other things, let me know in the question area or give our support team a call. Suffice to say that these all have their specific purposes in life, and I don't want to downplay them just because these other functions are really more for situations where maybe it's not necessarily a mistake, it's more of just like a common type day-to-day function that only needs to be used once in a while. I want to switch gears once again, and in our final 5 minutes or so, talk a little bit about utilities regarding Ledger for our accountants in the audience, and then wrap it up with our wholesale reverse menu. So when it comes to Ledger, as you might have recalled if you've checked out any of my broadcasts or videos in the past, Ledger is essentially a reactive function to your day-to-day activity. When you receive or sell inventory, it's making journal entries to track that. Whenever you're doing anything regarding accounts receivable or accounts payable or anything like that, AIM is keeping track of all the Ledger activity. In the past, if there was an error or an issue with those journal entries that AIM was creating, you would need to necessarily go in and create essentially adjusting journal entries. But this is really no longer the case with version 12. I'm happy to report, if you weren't already aware, that within AIM's version 12, the Ledger utilities, you now have the ability to go back and edit a journal entry. So you could use this program to go back, put in the original reference number. Let's just see if I have a reference number here that would be valid. Probably should have looked this up in the past before today's actual transaction. I know there's got to be one in here somewhere. Let's just go maybe 1,000. Okay, so there we go. Here is the point of sale transaction. Let's select that. Not that you would normally ever, well, of course, and now it's not there. So maybe the other one. Let's do the transfer inventory. Okay, so we can kind of see here is the ledger transactions that occurred, or the ledger entries that occurred with this transfer. If I needed to edit an existing line item, I could highlight it, click the edit button, which pulls its details up to the top, and then I could come in and make adjustments, and ultimately when I kind of hit enter, that brings it down below. If I need to add additional entries to that, I certainly could do so, but ultimately this allows you to go in and edit the record, and then you can put in any audit notes that you want down here for the purposes of your paper trail, especially in regards to keeping your bookkeeper happy when it comes to why these adjustments happened. Now, that would be something especially handy where maybe something was sold where the category, maybe it was like a brand new non-inventory category that you created, and when you created it, there was no corresponding ledger account tied to it, and now you want to go back and add those. You could certainly do that. You can make sure that it's correct here and then use edit journal entries to go back and add that missing information. Now if the transaction regarding the ledger just should be wiped out entirely, maybe you just want to get rid of it and start over, there is, you might have seen in that utility menu, a reverse ledger entry program where you could go in, put in the reference number, and then it will show you what the original entries are. This is the QuickBooks export. I didn't want, how did I get to that? Let's go back to reverse ledger entries. There we go. That looks better. You can put in the reference number, get the entries, and then ultimately when you hit reverse, this will essentially just make them like they never happened. So this is something that doesn't necessarily delete them entirely, but you can kind of see it will have reversing entries made. So if there was a debit and a credit to two different accounts, it will have credits and debits, basically the opposite of those entries, generated for them. So this is something that maybe your bookkeeper prefers you to do versus just outright editing them. You'll want to talk to your bookkeeper on that. There are considerations to be made regarding your audit trails and things like that that you want to take into consideration. But speaking of reversing, this does lead me into my final topic for the day, which is the reverse menu found in the admin functions of AIM. Now, when it comes to any of these reversing functions, if you are more than a one-person operation, you will want to make sure that only your most trusted people in the store, in the organization, have access to this reverse menu, because anything that you see on here, reversing individual invoices, reversing payments on account, reversing contracts, either payments or the returns or their contracts, or anything that you see on here, when you go in and reverse something, it's gone. It's like it never happened. So this is a very powerful utility. It can help keep your data pristine in the event that something happened and it should not have happened. This will make it never happened at all. The only place where you would see any sort of history regarding a reversed transaction would be in the event of reversing something that had an invoice log associated with it, and you would then see that over in the invoice log report in your miscellaneous menu. You won't see any details pertaining to that invoice, but you would see the original invoice and then later on that it was reversed. That's all that you would ever see of that. Otherwise, it's basically like it never happened. So on the reverse menu, you can reverse individual invoices as well as returns. If you did a merchandise return, you can now use this to reverse that. You can reverse payments on account. You can reverse long-term contract payments. You can reverse returns or early payoffs of those contracts. You can reverse the contracts themselves. You can reverse service tickets, or you can reverse the service ticket status. You would only really ever use this if it got invoiced, and then you need to essentially get it back to a non-invoiced state. You can use this to reverse that so that you can go back and technically keep on working on it using the modify service ticket function. You can reverse AP invoices. You can reverse invoices by date. This is ideal for situations where you either generate billing invoices for scheduling records, or if you generate late charges or finance charges. You can reverse layaways, short-term rentals. You can reverse a received purchase order. So in effect, you can undo the receiving of those items. When you use this, it will ask you for a problem code relating to those line items. Are they on back order? What's going on with them? So it will ask you for that. You can reverse scheduling instructor payments. You can reverse the updating of non-serialized quantities. This is regarding your purchase order, or not your purchase order, your physical inventory counts. You can reverse scheduling absences, credits. You can reverse the sale of a gift card. You can reverse settled consignments, contract write-offs, approvals, store-to-store transfers, short-term rental returns, EFT payments, vendor credits that have been applied to AP invoices. You can reverse daily deposits, EFT disbursements, which are different than EFT payments. You can reverse a cash on delivery paid out. You can reverse a consignment or purchase entirely. And you can reverse the refund of a deposit or credit. So basically, in essence, anything that you can transact, you can reverse. So that's what I wanted to kind of leave you here on today regarding all of the different ways that if you do have a mistake or an adjustment or anything like that, that you need to come in and resolve within AIM. For the most part, we've got a utility to handle that. If there are any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I think that will conclude today's live stream broadcast. As always, these will get put into the recent live streams playlist here on the video portal. I'll probably also put a copy of this into the administrative playlist, so definitely check that out if you need to. For the remainder of the month, a couple of notes I wanted to make. So next Thursday, we'll be doing an e-commerce overview regarding connecting your AIM database to some kind of e-commerce platform, either via our partners at Vortex, or if you're using a third-party connection such as Modern Retail to a Shopify or a WooCommerce or any other type of cart. We'll talk about the basics behind that. The following Tuesday, September 28th, we'll take a look at volume discounts and mix and match sales and other types of sales parameters that you may find handy as we head into the upcoming holiday season. And I do not yet have the October live stream broadcast finalized. I do have one suggestion, such as which will be how to go through and make sure your data gets backed up on that daily basis. What are your backing up options with regards to AIM v12? So we'll be definitely looking at that. I'm not yet sure if I'll be able to do a full scheduling of live streams that month. I have some potential obligations outside of the office that might interfere with that. But any other suggestions that you have regarding live stream topics? I have reopened the poll up at the top of the video portal area. So go ahead and click on that and give me your suggestions for live stream topics. Nothing goes unnoticed, and it will very likely be turned into a live stream topic. So anything that you'd like to see, definitely let me know. Thank you so much, Devin, for the encouragement here. I want to make sure these are relevant for you all. So definitely let me know what I can do to help you all out. And if nothing else, we'll see you next Thursday if that is an interest for you. Otherwise, if there's anything we can do in the meantime, definitely give us a call. Our support lines are always open that Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 Central Time. You can give our sales team a call if you just have questions on your account or anything else that we can do for you. We'll see you next time, and until then, I hope you can make it a great day. Take care.